the Gloria Madrano podcast, and I am live, everyone. I'm late, but I'm live. Oh man, okay, so I am here. Let's get going. Um, we are on the topic of grief, and we've been on this topic for um, a couple of weeks now. I think it's been about, gosh, has it been 5 weeks now? And we're going to keep going until we are finished. Um, and let me see how far we got. Uh, okay, let's see. Hmm, let's see. Okay. I think we're on number 5. Also, wanted to let you guys know that you can also listen on podcast. So, as you know, I always announce every week, um, Heart of the City San Diego. That's my nonprofit. So I always say from Heart of the City San Diego and the Gloria Madrano podcast, which I have a podcast. So, I originally started with Heart of the City San Diego, which I used to. It's for community work, and it really is to connect with the community and get other people and their stories onto the platform, and let the community of San Diego and around the world know who these people are and what they do. There's a lot of amazing people in our particular city, right? So I also have people from around the world. I was over in Poland and did some. I did some missionary work with the Ukrainian crisis situation, and met some amazing people there, and interviewed um, a couple of these two sisters who are Ukrainian and who um, were doing amazing work there in um, Poland, as kind of refugees because they fled from the war, and so they were living in Poland. By the way, if you've never visited Poland, you should go and check it out because it is. I fell in love uh, with Poland. Just really fell in love with Poland. I fell in love with the people, the food, and and first and foremost, the coffee is some of the best coffee I have ever had in all the countries that I have visited. Poland had the coffee. It was number one. Next, it would be Italy. Had some really awesome coffee. Okay. Um, and I mean, I really liked Italy's coffee, but when I had coffee in Poland, it was like, it was amazing. Okay. It was like, I don't even know if anything else can compare to that because, like, I want to go back just for the coffee. So, I love you guys. I am here. I was late. I usually start at 8 p.m. Hey, I see you there. So yeah, so again, please tune into the podcast wherever you are on Apple, on iHeartRadio, and Spotify, and give me a review. Go in there. It's the Gloria Medrano podcast. And really, if you Google my name, you'll find all the things that I do. Thank you. I see what you're posting. Okay, it's funny. It's cute. Hey, hey, hey! I love you guys. um, so someone's saying that I'm beautiful. That's what I'm laughing at. If you're listening on audios, I'm on YouTube, so I usually, YouTube is my the platform that I am doing a lot of my lessons on. So, and then I'll be posting this onto all of my audio platforms. So, yeah, hey, what's up? Thank you. Someone said girly. I see you there. All right, so we are on. Okay, so last week we asked the question, and again, just to you know, restate what lesson we're on. We're on the topic throughout December is the topic of grief. And I talk a lot about grief in during the holidays in December, starting off in like Thanksgiving and all that, American holidays, um, because so many of us, deal with trauma and grief, and those things are reminded to us when we have to go to like family dinners and family gatherings and or you're working and you can't even go to these things because you got to pay the bills, so you got to go to work, right? um and and if you're like me, I had to um reestablish myself in my home country, right? Because I lived overseas in England for so many years. So, I worked in England, I had a job, and I had a home and all these things, cars and all of that, pots and pans and towels and, all the things that you need when you have a home. Well, I didn't have that when I moved back to San Diego. So I had to reestablish myself and I had to, put my stake in the ground. If you don't know that term, it's like when the settlers came, like back in the day, way back when America was being established. They gave you plots of land, right? And, although I'm Native American, if you didn't know that, I'm Apache, Mescalero Apache on my mom's side and Irish on my dad's side. Um, so yeah, back in those days, you would, stick a stake. A stake like is like a piece of uh, a board with a point on it, and you stick that thing in the ground and you claim your ground. You claim your land, basically, right? So that's what that means. And so I had to move when I'm moving back to San Diego, I had to stick my stake in the ground, claim my land, because I'm a home girl from San Diego and more so I'm a home girl from Southeast San Diego. And Dago, as we say. So, that's where I'm from, right? So, I'm from Skyline. If I was to claim, I don't claim. I was never a gang member or anything like that. So, don't get it twisted. Um, but I spent most of my days all over San Diego, and I'm a former motocross athlete. So the way that my father kept us kids out of trouble and out of the gangs in San Diego was he took us out. We were a boating family, so we had a boat, and then we started having dirt bikes, like you know, first it started off with the mini bikes, those little trail bikes. First we started off with BMXing, and then it went to the lawnmower gasoline trail bikes, and then it went progressed to like two strokes. And what the first one, the most fun little bike ever was a little Suzuki that we had. I think it was a Suzuki 100 or something like that. But it was small. You could do tricks. You could have fun. You could fall and you're not falling. Like a long way down from a big old tall bike or anything. Um, so that was my lifestyle. And so my dad took us out of the neighborhood. And then, we were kind of hillbillies, to be honest. I don't usually tell people this part, but if you're watching on, podcast and on my social media and stuff, you're going to find out a lot of the things that I don't usually say to my friends. A lot of my friends don't really get this either. And my close friends, I don't really, we don't talk about that, right? I'm just a homegirl from San Diego. But to be honest, we lived on a private hill. It was a private hill that overlooked we could see from Southeast San Diego, Skyline Drive, right across the street from O'Farrell Junior High School. We could see all the way down to the Barrio Logan, the Coronado Bridge, and the bay, and everything. We could see the whole city. And it was so private up there. We were just a bunch of hillbillies with lots and lots of land, So I ran around barefoot. I learned how to ride my first trail bike up on our own land, which was acres and acres, and then back behind Morris Canyon and all that, which is Morris Canyon, Morris High School, the canyon behind Morris High School. Before, that was way before they even built Paradise Valley. So if you're from PV, or no, PH, I guess, yeah, see, I was away for so long. I don't know my hoods anymore. With Paradise Hills, if you're from Paradise Hills in San Diego, Paradise Hills wasn't even built yet, okay? There was no Paradise Hills. It was all canyons back there. And a bunch of farmers, people, like, there was Japanese farmers. They had owned avocado orchards. And then there was a couple of families, spread way far away from each other down dirt roads, who had farms like horses and cows and stuff. And then some had like vegetable gardens where they would sell stuff, like a farmer's market kind of thing. So that is what San Diego was like when I was growing up, when I was just a little kid, like, 5 and 6 years old, the far back as I can remember, right? So, yeah, it was a wild life, interesting, crazy, historical now. But, I want you guys to know that um even though, like, all of that, um God took this little country girl, you know, to do major things, and I'm no one special. There's nothing special about me. I work a regular job, and I have to reestablish, I'm kind of reestablished now, but um, so I worked like 2 and 3 jobs, reestablishing, but never did I ever sway away from the call of God, okay? And let me tell you this, there were many people who tried to sway pastors and leaders, and lots of people really tried to sway me from, entering into the call of God or staying in the call of God. They didn't want me to stay in the call of God. They were trying to get rid of me because I reminded them of a failure. Basically, I didn't fail, but they reminded me I reminded them of some type of failure. And so I made them uncomfortable. But that's their issue. And so I'm here to tell you, those of you who are listening to me, and at that time I was going through grief, okay? I was going through grief. I was going through, trauma, crisis, you name it, I was going through it. So I'm here to tell you that it doesn't matter. You're going to have people who are going to resist you, okay? But you got to know that what it is that you are here on this planet for, okay? And I found that, thankfully, I found that at a young age. And not just in I didn't find that in church. I found that through my foster parents, really, to be honest. I found that before I even entered into church world. Um, I knew that God had put something in me. I didn't understand. I actually knew that it was God. I knew that it was God because, when I was supposed to have died at 5 years old, I didn't die. And some people, those of you who have been through some type of injury or trauma, where you feel like had meant to have been gone off this planet, your life taken, and it wasn't, and you have a second chance in life, you have this kind of awakening that is of God that says you are here for something, right? And you go on the hunt for what that is until you find it, until you have found the scriptures, the biblical scriptures that connect you to your Father, the Father in heaven, and then we accept Jesus Christ into our hearts, and that gives us the spiritual awakening of the Holy Spirit that gives us this kind of compass to navigate life, um, because life is a great adventure, and we're going to go off. If you're like me, you're going to go off that beaten path. You're not going to go on the straight path. I don't go on straight paths. I learned discipline and dedication at a young age through athletics, through my foster parents, okay? I learned how to fight through my own parents and their survival, and my father, who was an ex-convict and a biker, that when I was learning how to ride dirt bikes and things, falling and breaking bones and, wounds that caused me to go to the emergency and things as a girl, as a girl, um, that, I wanted to cry. I wanted to like quit sometimes. I wanted to like look pretty, that pretty girl and wear pink and all, and, um, and my father would, um, help me to understand to, get back up, address your fear, look at your fear, fight. I was bullied like to the highest level in school, in elementary school, and a little bit in junior high school. And it was my father who would, tell me, you're going to get bullied until you fight back, until you stand up, until you look someone in the eye, until you face people, you face it on, and things like that. And then it was a bit much, I probably, excuse me, I probably should not have been facing up to, in some certain situations that led me to the hospital. But in a lot of situations, I'm thankful that I had, made friends, and that I was, that the friend that people liked. And because then when I went to junior high school, and a whole crowd of about 25 kids from another gang, there was a gang rival going on in school, and you know, I was in the middle of this gang, you know, fire going back and forth, trying to get home, and I tried to take the shortcut through the field, and this gang of group intercepted me, and the one guy, he held me up against the chain link fence with my up against on my neck, and I thought for sure they're gonna beat me up, you know. And from the back of the crowd, I hear this girl. She's like, she's like this real tough girl, gang member, And I knew her in elementary school, and she had always been tough. But at this point, she had been in and out of prison and jail and all kinds of things. And she was coming up from the back of the crowd, and she's, cussing, and she's, walking all like gangster walk. And she's coming up, and I'm like, oh no, I'm really gonna get beat up now. And she's like, no, no, that's my homegirl. I know her. That's Gloria. She's from San Diego. She's from, you know, I'm not gonna name where, but she's leave her alone, basically, she said, and she protected me. And um and I think thankfully, I was that was the day I learned it's more important to be a friend and be a connector rather than it's good that you have this secret ability to protect yourself and defend yourself and be a fighter. If it's needed and it's not to be broadcasted or bragged about, just let it be a secret. And it's better to be a connector. That was the day I learned it's better to be someone who people like and connect with people. Um, because I was just this hillbilly kid that lived up on the top of that private hill with a dad who was a biker, a white biker guy, and this girl who, came up from my elementary school who protected me, you know, um, me, little me and nobody, and so that's my roots. Those are my roots. That's where I come from. But I'm not that person anymore. I have gone, to travel around the world. I have lived in other countries. I have, wined and dined with, many different types of people in this world. And it has brought me to, reinvent myself or, reestablish myself in my home country. And so if 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 that is some if I can do it, you can do it. If I can do it, you can do it too. And the topic is grief. Last week we talked about what are the anniversary effects of grief and triggers. Well, some of that are triggers to me. Like I don't pass by that old house anymore. I don't go there and reminisce, about how how I could have done this and I could have been this and I could have done that and I wish this didn't happen and I wish that didn't happen. I don't do that. I'm actually grateful for all the experiences that have brought me to where I am today. Okay. And some of those things, like, in the grieving, there are triggers. And I might be out and about somewhere here, and it's lots of triggers here in San Diego. I didn't have that when I lived in England, but there are lots of triggers that I have to deal with here in San Diego. There are places and things, people that I run into, who knew me when I was that little kid. Um, some things are embarrassing and some things, are I'm having a cool moment, like, because I was painfully shy, and so people knew me as that kid that was just that painfully shy, quiet, likable person, but just shy. And so it's kind of embarrassing when I see people, and they're like, "Oh, wow, you're different." And so you will have triggers throughout your life, and that's okay. We all have them, you know. And another one of the questions was, "Am I normal? Is this normal?" Yeah, it's normal. It's normal that we change, that we're growing, that we're different. Although I still see friends from the hood that they haven't changed. They're still like doing the same old thing, hanging out at the corner. And they're still doing the same thing. I don't hang out with them anymore, but I see them and I know who they are. I know them, and we say hi, and do our gangster handshake that we do. Yes, I do know it as well. I know, what a dork, right? So here's number 6. We're on number 6. Okay. Number 6. Can grief become unhealthy or dangerous? Can grief become unhealthy or dangerous? What do you think? What do you think? What's your first thought on that, right? So, and it says here, loss may occur in situations that have higher risk for negative complications, or can overwhelm someone's ability to cope. And sometimes life factors can intensify the stress upon the griever, such as health issues, economic stress, or lack of social support. When a griever is unable to function adequately or does not feel any improvement even after a prolonged grieving period, or becomes clinically depressed or impaired, then it's time to consult a professional. I would say, be aware of yourself, be aware of your feelings, and, you know, it's okay to see a professional even before you get to this point. Don't wait for it to get so bad that you get to this point, because you may be in a place where emotionally you just want to check out. You don't want to be on this planet anymore, and you're now making decisions, okay? And you don't want to be that far into it. So you want to make sure that you're getting the adequate help. And I want to share something with you that is going to be kind of hard maybe for you to hear, okay? And something that I have had to learn in my own life, okay? And so, this is with everything in life, everybody, everything, churches, organizations, people that help people, counselors, chaplains, you know, the best person to take care of you is you. Okay? And the hard statement that I need to make to you is there may not be someone coming to rescue you. Okay? There may not be someone to come and knock at your door when you're wanting to check out of this life. Okay? You have to take care of you. Okay? It's not selfish to do that. So lots of Christians, they get all into this, they kind of, want to correct me a little bit. That we're to be selfless. We don't need to be so selfless that we're trying to check out of life because we're so depressed. But the hard part in working with people is telling them that somebody may not be coming to rescue you. Okay? There may not be that best friend. There may not be that someone sitting with you for coffee while you're grieving. They may not be there. Okay? And I have had to have some really strong conversations with people, which I'm not going to name any names or who they are or anything like that. Try to guilt trip me, okay? And I had to tell them that I'm only a Gloria. I'm not a God. I'm not Jesus. I'm just a Gloria. And sometimes my mental health is having issues while trying to take care of other people, okay? And sometimes I have to make the hard choice to say, hey, you need to get up and you need to start taking care of yourself, because I got to live. I have to live. and I have to go to work. I have to pay bills. You're not paying my bills. Like, I'm gonna, you're gonna swallow me down and make me, you know, not have a job. And then what happens when I don't have a job? Then I won't, I don't pay bills. And then what? I'm gonna be homeless? No, that's not gonna happen. Like, so, so we have to make hard choices when we become grown and adults. That's part of that. Um, but again, we can make, I don't get me wrong. I've been, I sit with people and help people and things like that. But, if they ask me for it, if they come to me for it, but I can't go to everyone and reach out to everyone because I'm just a Gloria. That's it. I'm just a Gloria. And I mostly know that a lot of people know that I care and that I'm praying for them, praying for my audience here that follows me, that listens to my content faithfully. I'm praying for you. I'm here in my home and, out, in my car and driving and praying and things, for people. But don't believe the lie that you're no good and that it has to end, or that this pain is so great that you can't handle it. Okay. The things that I've been through and the things that I've seen, life and death and horrific, ugly things that I still get information about even now. And some of it is a bit traumatic. I'm like, dang, I don't want to know that. And I have had to, grieve. I had to grieve through a lot of this stuff. And, and fight through it. It has got me depressed. I know what that feels like. It's got me down. And the reason why I feel happy and I love my life and, I want to be alive and is because of Jesus. It's because of Jesus, because I have hope. I go and I pray and I have hope. I read the word of God and I believe that God loves me. And then, I'm eating right. I eat right and I rest well, if I need to rest, and sleep is so important. I make time to spend time with friends. I make time to spend time with people that I know will inspire me because they're already doing amazing things, so they inspire me to want to do more. So I appreciate all of that, and I pray that you guys feel that same way. So that's number 6. For the seasons of grief. And ask yourself these questions, you guys. It says here that grief can also become dangerous if a person tries to cope with loss in an unconstructive manner, such as excessive substance use or reckless behavior. Sometimes we want to numb things down and stuff. So yeah, that's another thing. Appreciate that. So I appreciate you guys. I see your posts going up. I appreciate that. You guys are awesome. I want to say a prayer for you. And I know that God, again, I'm just a Gloria, but you are not unnoticed by God. God notices you. He knows each and every one of you by name, by, who you are, where you are, and all of that. Okay. And so I want to bring that out to you. I want you guys to be reassured of that. The other thing is, sometimes we talk about grace as Christians, and sometimes for some people, grace can be that thing where you think you get away with everything. But God, when we accept Jesus Christ into our hearts, again, we can't pay back the debt. We can't, earn it. We can't be good. We can't do anything like that. We are good, or we change our behavior, or we try to strive for that, to be good to others. And that is because we have fallen in love with the scriptures, the biblical scriptures that show us how much God loves us, right? And He enables us to be holy and live a holy life, which means, you don't have the desire to go and do that old thing that you used to do back in the day, right? You don't have that. You may have the desire, but you may choose not to by discipline, because of the discipline that you have that is in your word and in your focus on your destiny. And so that's what I've always been focused on, no matter what my life situation or changes have been. And that we in the church world, we use this word called backsliding. Backsliding is like when you leave God, and not everyone leaves God per se, but they go back to their old way. They numb their hurt by drinking or substance abuse. They're not doing things in a healthy way or a godly way. And they're like going back into this old way of living. And, I that didn't happen to me because I knew, for one, that I love God. Okay, first and foremost, I know I love God. Doesn't matter. I never blamed God for all the situations. And then the other thing is, there's still a destiny. I don't need someone's permission for my destiny. And no man can take away what God has put for your destiny to be. No man can stop it. They can try. They do try. They still do try. And the people, kind of stalking me on my social media and stuff, looking, what is she doing? Do you not realize that I can see you peeking? These pastors who used to be in my life. But I, and again, these aren't bad people, but, they didn't want me in their life. And so why are you stalking me? Like, so one of the other thing is that, there were good people who reached out to me, and not a lot of people, not the friends who I thought were going to reach out to me, did not. But these random people who were observing me from afar, they reached out and they said that, I've never seen a woman, in the many years that I've been serving the Lord, do what you do. I've never seen them overcome like you've overcome. I've never seen them stick to the calling of God in their life like you. And that's a big deal. It's a big responsibility, because I'm not perfect. But it's a big deal, and I don't care about that. I don't care about. I mean, I do, but what I mostly care about is who my kids are who are watching me. That's what I care about. I care about, you know, all of the children, from stepchildren to my own children that I birthed, who are my family, who I love, that, um, are going through hard times, that have been through hard times, that they still love God. They serve the Lord. Have they been through some tough times? Yeah. But had I backslid, they would not have been who they are today. Okay? My baby girl Krista would not have been at Rady Shell singing her beautiful voice like she does. Okay? Um, my son may not be the man of God who he is today, the leader that miraculous, like the leader who he is, that people love to follow him in his leadership and his wisdom. Where he gets this wisdom, I have no idea. And and my beautiful granddaughter, and grandkids, my firstborn grandchild, Malison, and her mom, who her mom is like an incredible mom who has made major changes in her life to raise an awesome child, and my granddaughter is just an amazing, awesome athlete. And that athletic ability has, I'm sure, given her a mental discipline to go on to do, go on to forensics is what she wants to do. All of those things. Had I backslidden, gone to do some craziness and disappeared off this planet, like, disappeared by, eliminating myself, disappearing myself, or, just not being here because I decided I wanted to go use substance abuse and just disappearing, she would not be the person that she is. Okay? She would not, be the person. There's a hard, major example that I play in this family. It's tough. It's sometimes I don't get to play, but I get to see people overcome, and that's a major gift in itself. Okay, I get to see them do incredible things in this world. I get to see them have vision, have hope, and have dreams that they're fulfilling in this life. And I get to see them serve God, my grandchildren, my children, and it's mixed up, messed up, thing that we have. Some of you have that too. And some of you don't have a mixed up thing, but you have a messed up thing. You may still be married and your kid's messed up. Okay. There's something that we need to look at when that happens. We need to look at, why is that happening, so just staying married, just that doesn't mean anything. Yes, it's important, but it's the quality and how you are conducting yourself as an example, along with teaching and discipling along that path. That's what's important. Okay, that's what's keeping that family unit having its staying on the course. Okay, and teaching your kids how to use that compass and that navigation system in their life, and teaching them how to eat healthy, because that keeps their brain from getting all jacked up, off of fogginess and, being impulsive and being disciplined and, all that. All of those things are extremely important. Okay. And I didn't do very good with a lot of that. Okay, this has all just come more, not more recently, but in the past years as the kids started becoming grown, that I could then now really impart and disciple. So yeah, I'm grateful for the in-laws that my kids have. Not step, son-in-laws and daughter-in-laws that I have. Because those son-in-laws are just incredible men that I just love to be around those men. I could see why my daughters are with them. They're great, fun, intelligent, wise men who love God. Okay. And my daughter-in-laws, are just amazing, strong headed, filled with wisdom kind of women. And I'm just like, wow, that's kind of like me. Oh man, you know, and I have a respect for that. So I want to kind of end there. I love you guys. And I just want to like challenge you. I want to really challenge you to go and, take inventory of your life and what you're doing. What are you looking at? What are you imparting into yourself? Are you learning? Are you growing? Sometimes I have to look at my life and take inventory. Like, the beginning of the year, we kind of do stuff like that. And I say to myself, you know, have I learned anything? Have I grown from the things that are not very good or not very healthy? What is my mind doing? Am I thinking healthy? Am I thinking positive? Am I, have I done the things that I wrote down that I said that I, dreamed of doing, right? So, and I haven't done all of them. So like, I'm not perfect or anything again, but, I am striving um, for that. I have to have something that I strive for, right? I have to have a list that I'm checking off. And we don't always have to check off some list somewhere, we just need to, love God and let God love us. Okay. Love God and let God love you. He loves you. Okay. So with that said, how do you come to God? You just simply, no one told me how to come to God. No one. I was in my room by myself and I felt a pull. I felt this pull I was just sitting on my bed. It was random. And I was sitting on my bed and I felt this pull towards God, the God in heaven who I thought, who's this God? And I said, I just, with a audible voice, I looked up and I said, God, are you real? Like, where are you? Are you really real? Like, I need to know. And God showed himself real to me. And I believed that was God. I believed that God, showed me the way. And then I asked my foster parent, and I went to her and I said, I had this encounter with God. And she said, I believe you. She said, I used to go to church. And now that I'm having kids, I want to go back to church. That experience and me asking her led her to want to go back to the things of God. Was that not God? Right? So that was God. That was God, and he was doing something in my life. He was using me to connect people back to God. Hi, I see you there. And then a series of events took place, and I found myself in a little church where I was then, because when you're in a little church, you can, have direct conversations with the pastor there because he's just building this church, and I was able to ask questions and things, and I had a little bit of hard time because men back in the 80s, they didn't like to disciple women. They thought that was the wife's thing to do, but I just kept asking questions and kept being in these arenas. And was called a rebel and rebellious, and I don't listen, and all kinds of things I was called in church. They had to do with being rebellious, that I didn't want to wear a dress, and that was rebellious, and I wanted to wear jeans to church, and that was really bad. One day I wore shorts, and I was the devil on that day. But wow. Okay. All right. Bless you. May the Lord bless your hearts. May the Lord keep you in peace and keep you connected to him and his holiness. In Jesus' name, amen. Love you guys. And I got to go because I got to go to work. I work a regular job. Okay. This YouTuber that you see, or, podcaster. Yeah, I have a regular job, and some of my coworkers have found my social media. And I'm like, shh, I'm going around the when they ask me, one lady comes up to me, she says, I seen you on social media. And I said, shh, don't tell anyone. Shh. And she says, oh, okay. And then this other guy, and he's like, I see. And I'm like, shh. So if you're my coworker, shh, don't tell anyone at work. All right. I love you guys and bless you. This is Gloria Medrano from Heart of the City, San Diego, and the Gloria Medrano podcast. Go to my podcast and give me a good review, okay? Bye. See ya. Love you.